a man suddenly found a way to make easy money. By pretending to be blind, he could sit in front of a temple and beg with honor. He earns 3 times as much as anyone else. Even when he crosses the street, he gets help from kind-hearted people. Even he can live in a government-provided room for rent for free by virtue of his blindness. But this is not the limit of a man. He uses his position as a pianist to play the piano in other people's homes, because no one would be afraid of a blind man, so he could often spy on the privacy of many hostesses. But he didn't know that pretending to be blind would be the most regrettable thing in his life. That day he went to celebrate the birthday of a rich man's wife as usual, but when he opened the door, the woman didn't seem to want to let him in. She claimed that he might have misremembered the time, but Paul had already taken a deposit from the tycoon, and there was a sizable balance due at the end of the show. Of course he couldn't have made a mistake. As they argued, the noise drew the attention of an elderly neighbor. The woman didn't seem to want to attract the neighbor's attention, so she let him in. After ascertaining that Paul was truly blind, the woman was relieved to let him play the piano. But he hadn't been talking for long when he was startled by what he saw. There was a dead body lying in the living room in front of him. He finally realized why the woman didn't want to let him in, but he couldn't show his nervousness at that moment, so he had to go to the bathroom for a while. In order to make himself look more like a blind man, he stepped on the red wine on the floor when he passed through the living room. He thought that going to the bathroom would calm him down, but he didn't realize that this was the worst part, because the murderer was hiding behind him with a gun. He was so scared that he didn't dare to breathe for fear that he would be silenced if he found out what happened. Luckily, he held his urine enough, and did not cause the other party's suspicion. When he went back to the living room, he saw the tycoon himself lying on the floor. Although he was terrified, he could only pretend to be calm and continue playing the piano. The woman was pretending to contact the tycoon, saying he'd be there in 10 minutes. They then proceeded to dispose of the rich man's body in front of Paul. It didn't take long for the men to load the body into a suitcase ready to drag it out and destroy it. The tycoon's wife, Simi, went to the door to create the illusion of welcoming the tycoon home. Then Simi took out a recording of the tycoon's life. She pretended to be talking to her husband in front of Paul. But before she could say a few words, Simi said that the tycoon had to go out for a while. The man put on the rich man's clothes and dragged his luggage out of the house. After getting out of the tycoon's house, Paul didn't go home. He sat on the side of the road and hesitated to call the police, because the tycoon was not only known as a good man in the area, and every time he visited the bar where he sang, he gave him a generous tip. Yesterday he was laughing and joking with the rich man, but today he was murdered by his wife. Paul was determined to go to the police to seek justice for the rich man. When he arrived at the police station, Paul told them he wanted to report a murder. Who knows that just after he finished the sentence he saw the man who hid in the bathroom before. And looking at his uniform, he was a police sergeant.